We're on our first lesson of the Rates and Percents unit, Unit 6, and this lesson is called Intro to Rates. So we're going to start by doing a little exercise here where we're going to count our pulse. We're going to find our pulse, okay? So to do this, you're either going to take the pulse on your wrist or on your neck. So if you want to find it on your wrist, you want to go just off to the, so hold your wrist in front of you of your left hand and go off to the left side in the top corner of your wrist. And then just hold your two fingers there to see if you feel it. Okay? Another place is on your neck. So just go like right below where your chin meets your neck in that little crevice there, and you should feel it. Okay, so I already counted mine and I got 72 beats in 1 minute because remember we're recording for 60 seconds. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pause the video, and then when you push play again, it's going to record for 60 seconds, and then it'll ask you to type in what you got for your beats per minute. Okay? Okay, that was 30 seconds, which is not quite a minute. So what you're going to do is take whatever answer you just counted to, and you're going to do times 2. You're going to double it. Okay, so for example, if you counted 34, you're going to do 34 times 2, and that's going to be, that's going to be 68. If you got 41, you're going to times it by 2, and that's 82. Okay? All right. So since I don't know what you got, but we want to just do a little bit of comparison here, I'll show you how to do it. My ratio was 72 to 1. Now for my rate, let's go back up and define what a rate is. So a rate is a specific comparison of two quantities. And really what makes a rate different than a ratio is that you have two different types of units. Okay? So if we say the ratio was 72 to 1, that means the rate is 72 beats per minute. Okay? Now I'm going to give you another example, and then you'll be able to compare yours as well. So another example would be somebody who got the answer 82 beats per minute. So the ratio would be 82 to 1. The rate would be 82 beats per minute. And we use that word per in the middle, kind of like we would use the word to in a ratio. That's our word in the middle that shows the two things we're comparing, beats to minutes. So why is it beneficial to determine the rate of each person? Well, when we find the rate, we can make a comparison. And now there's actually a certain type of rate that we're really going to find useful, okay? So a rate describes the comparison by division of two quantities, two numbers, with different units, okay? This is just like when we wrote our ratios. If we set a ratio of 1 to 4, we wrote it as a fraction, and that means division. So it's really no different. But now we're having a different type of units. So we could say miles per hour, or we could say dollars per week. So what's different here from a ratio is we might have been saying 1 dog to 4 cats. So we were kind of comparing two similar things. They weren't like units. Okay, now what's really useful to find is what's called a unit rate. And a unit rate is when you simplify a rate. It's when you take the rate and you describe the amount for one of something. okay? Or the rate when the denominator, the bottom number, the second number, is 1. For example, I could say $25 per hour. That would be a unit rate because it's for 1 hour. We talked a little bit about this in the last unit, that number 1 can be super helpful. And in this case, it's so useful that we're giving it its own name, the unit rate, okay? Could also say, maybe miles per gallon is another type of rate you might hear. You could say like 20 miles per gallon, meaning 20 miles for 1 gallon. Or $25 per hour, meaning $25 for 1 hour. To practice the difference between a rate and a unit rate, we're going to look at 3 examples. Number 2, Samuel can do 120 jumping jacks in 2 minutes. So the rate there is just a comparison. So it would be 120 jumping jacks to 2 minutes if we wrote it as a fraction. Okay? If we were to do the unit rate, we would have to simplify. Unit rates have to be for 1. They have to be out of 1. So instead of 120 to 2, we have to simplify that. So what I'm thinking is if we take the 120 over 2 and we divide them both by 2, we would get 60 over 1, meaning 60 jumping jacks in 1 minute. So we could say for this one, 60 jumping jacks, just going to put JJ, for 1 minute. Okay? Number 3, a large plane is able to cruise at 530 miles per hour. So we don't see here the number 1, but when you see per hour, it's just an invisible number 1. So this is going to be as a rate 530 miles over 1 hour. And if we check, it's actually already out of 1, which means this is already a unit rate. So another way we could write it, just to show you a different way, is 530 miles per hour. So another way you could write it, you could even do, since it's a unit rate, it has a special one, you could do MPH for miles per hour. Or if it helps you, just leave it like this, and then you could do the miles per hour so that you really see that that 1 is there. Last one, babysitter gets paid $60 for 4 hours of work. So the $60 and then the 4 hours, that's our rate. Okay, now if we want it to be a unit rate, we got to simplify. So I'm thinking, so 60 over 4, I'm going to try 2. Actually, let's try 4, see if we can go all the way there without having to do 2 steps. So 60 divided by 4 is going to be 15. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So that means $15 in 1 hour, or $15 per hour for her unit rate. All right? Rates can also be used to solve problems and make predictions. This is something we already were doing with our ratios. So we're not actually going to use any of these methods. We're going to use just the proportion, the method that we've been using with the 2 equal fractions. So number 5, Annabelle reads 3/4 of a page per minute. How many pages can Annabelle read in 20 minutes? So her rate is 3/4 of a page per minute. So we can actually just use the rate 3 over 4, okay? And this means that in 3 pages, she reads that in 4 minutes, okay? So the problem is that we don't want 4 minutes, we want 20 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply both parts of this fraction by 5 so that I can turn this into a 20 minutes. Okay, now do 3 times 5, that's 15 pages. So we're just using the 2 equal fractions. So start with her rate again. So 3/4, and and that's pages per minute. So just put the labels the same order as the fraction. And now instead of changing the minutes, we want to change to 45 pages, which means we're going to put 45 on the top because those labels match. This one's a little harder. 3 times 15 is going to give us 45. And 4 times 15, we just did a minute ago, is 60. 60 minutes. So if you wanted to, you could write it as 1 hour. But since it doesn't ask us to do that, we don't have to. Okay, last one. During a thunderstorm, the local news reports rainfall at 1/2 of an inch per hour. How much rain will fall if it continues for 8 hours? So let's take our 1/2, and it's inches per hour. Just using a shorthand there. And instead of the 2 hours like we have on the bottom, we're going to do 8 hours. So if I want to change from a 2 to an 8, I use a 4. And we're going to get a 4 on the top, and that's 4 inches. And for part B, how long will it take 6 inches of rain to fall? So take your rate 1/2 of an inch per hour. So we're going to say 1 inch, 2 hours. That's what that means. And if we change this, it's no longer 1 inch, it's 6 inches. And we can get from a 1 to a 6 by doing times 6. Same thing on the bottom. 2 times 6 is 12 hours.